Dzień dobry. Dzień dobry. Assalamu alaikum, he said, looking at his Polish colleague with some disgust, no doubt. Good morning, ciao, konnichiwa. It's Ken at 10. How are you today? It's Friday. If you watch regularly, you'll know Friday's my favorite day of the week. Love it. Love a Friday. The promise of the weekend ahead. And I think it stems back from being a child. And you know, the days when you finish school at the end of the week and then you have Saturday morning TV, sports, friends, fun to look forward to. And still now, like a big kid, really, love it all. How about you? If you haven't been here before, welcome along. This is Ken at 10. We broadcast every day from our offices in Norbury, Southwest 16, which is between Streatham and Thornton Heath, or Streatham and Croydon, if you don't know that. And we're a Zone 3 commuter area estate agents. We talk about property, life and things in general, really. So how are you today? I hope you're well. One thing we've noticed this week, a couple of things that are really interesting, is the new coronavirus vaccine that's being manufactured up in Stockton-on-Tees up north. Lovely to see that. It looks like it's got efficacy against the new strain of the virus as well. And we've ordered 60 million doses. No doubt the EU will complain about that. But you know what? We got there first again. Something good came out of the whole Brexit thing by the sounds of it. So apart from that, a few things to report on today. First thing, I mentioned yesterday the situation with one of my clients who had a solicitor who seemed to be doing everything they could to scupper her sale. And they were quite shocked by this, but honestly, it's not rare. It's quite regular. And we've since found out that another thing that solicitor asked, actually didn't ask the client, I should say, was on one of the questionnaires, there was the question, have you ever had a dispute with your neighbour? Have you ever got any legal disputes or otherwise with your neighbour? And the solicitor took it upon themselves to leave that answer blank. And of course, this leads to suspicion. And when the client queried it, they actually said, well, you know, you could be sued. You know, I'm warning you, you could be sued. And so I spoke to the client and said, how could you be sued? If you're telling the truth, how could they sue you for a dispute that never happened? It just can't. So, you know, that was really frustrating. But luckily, our clients with us, we told them what to do. They've done it. And no doubt we'll get that one through. And partly thanks to their tenacity. So you know who you are. And well done you. We're going to get there. That is going to go. So promise you that's going to be okay. Had another one yesterday. It's a bit of a shocker. We had a failure to complete. This is very, very rare. This is where a property exchanges contracts, and then on the day of completion, somebody doesn't complete. And in this case, it was something where somebody, the buyer of our property, had sold through another agent. And guess what? One of the onliners, and the solicitor beneath had exchanged contracts but couldn't complete because didn't have the mortgage funds. And now the underwriter's looking at the case. Obviously, the case will remain nameless, but the point is this can happen. It's very rare, just so you know. I mean, in the last 30 years, I can count on one hand how many times it's happened where we've had a failure to complete. And even then, I can only think of one instance where it didn't finally go on to complete. The reasons for it can be numerous, but the most common one is mortgage fraud, where the situation is that the lender suddenly finds something unusual on the file and says, hang on a minute, we can't lend the money on this. The reason it's quite rare is because lenders usually do very thorough due diligence before exchange, and the solicitor should make sure that the lenders are happy and they have a mortgage offer with no restrictions or conditions prior to exchanging contracts. And I have a suspicion that this is about a cheapy solicitor chosen by the onliner at the bottom of the pile here, who no doubt made a big commission out of recommending them onto the purchaser. And so you end up with a low quality firm of solicitors or conveyancers acting for a buyer, and they messed up. And that mess up has now cost the whole chain a lot of money. Not looking so cheap now, are you, onliners? So yeah, very frustrating for our client. And we really feel for our buyer and seller, actually. You know, the buyer has had to get the removals van and get them to load stuff back into the house. She's on to Uber Eats now, getting dinner last night. This was, you know, very heartbreaking actually for them. And our client's like, well, what's happening? And, you know, it's quite bewildering, really frustrating. But I think as we get nearer the deadline, we'll see more and more of these mess ups, especially now in the advent of onliners, where what we're finding is that when you're in a chain with an online agent, quite often they have zero input into the chain and liaising up and down the chain to make sure things are going to plan. And this can mean that the sale can be scuppered, fall through because of lack of information, lack of confidence in the sale. So we're always a little bit nervous when we find there's an onliner in the chain somewhere. And in this case, it all looked good. but clearly the solicitor looks like they may have been at fault. We'll see. We'll keep you updated on that one. Apart from that, the general property news today. Newly built homes extend the price gap by 11%. There's an interesting thing saying that in the last 10 years, the average property price for a new build property has jumped significantly. Well, I think it was about 7 years ago in 2013, we started Help to Buy. And I know I've harped on about this in the past, but I do think it's significant. The government started to give an incentive to first-time buyers buying new build properties. Why new build? Why would you restrict it to new build? And what's happened to new build and the rest of the market? Guess what? New houses have got more expensive. They've got more expensive because it's easier to get the finance on them, but harder to get finance on the rest of the market. So consequently, there's a big price divide now between new build and the second-hand market. And that's why we know that the way forward, the way that the chancellor should move it forward in terms of incentives is making sure that first-time buyers can access the wider market. Please, not new build, Rishi. We don't want to know about new build. That just boosts your friends in the building industry, PLCs, profits. Maybe that's what you want, Boris. Is it? Well, if it is, it's not what we want. What the nation wants is to see everybody enjoy the property market, get on board where they can. And that means making things affordable and accessible for first-time buyers. And you really do need to support them, because in the end, the market will struggle if they're not helped. Sooner or later, that will come home to roost. So the smallest increase in the new build premium has been in London at 5.5%, but it's still significant, isn't it? But elsewhere up to 30%. Can you imagine paying 30% more? And the difficulties that gives you is once you've paid 30% more for a property, and then if you need to move in 2-3 years' time, you end up with an agent like me coming around and telling you the truth, which is that the value of your property is not what it was when you bought it. And then you're stuck and trapped. And this is why new build can be such a bad idea for young people, particularly, who quite often go into flats, then have a baby, need some outdoor space, and find themselves trapped in an equity trap. So that's why I think it's so important that we support first-time buyers. On that note, banks are starting to open up a little, I'm pleased to report. This is not mortgage advice, I hasten to add. You need to speak to a qualified broker if that's what you are considering. But what we do know is Lloyds, Halifax and Bank of Scotland have introduced new home movable mortgages for borrowers with deposits as low as 10%. So that's quite good news anyway. The stamp duty extension, back to that old chestnut again, set for parliamentary debate. The petition which we encouraged you to sign, and you probably did, reached 129,000 signatures. And the campaign is calling for a 6-month extension on homes sold below 500,000 to keep the property market moving during the pandemic. New research has suggested 39% of buyers will cancel their purchases if they can't complete before the deadline. The survey by Yes Home Buyers also revealed that 24% of buyers have seen the sale fall through as a result of the housing market backlog. So that's interesting. And as I was saying, we expect that there'll be many more problems with sales ahead. And we're all over it. As any of our sales that are currently in the pipeline will know, we're literally doing our very best to be as supportive as we possibly can be in these difficult times. But it's really, looking out the window here in Norbury, it's quite a lot brighter than it was yesterday. And my colleague Caroline said to me just yesterday, oh, it's still bright and it's evening. As we were going into the early evening yesterday, it started to get brighter. So we can see warmer days are ahead. And with this new vaccine as well coming, things are looking brighter. There's another chink of light at the end of the tunnel. So hopefully that'll be online soon. 60 million doses have been ordered by the UK. So that could be very good news too. Hope you have a fantastic weekend. One of the reasons we love Friday here at James Alexander is it's the day we get people out for viewing at the weekends. It's exciting for us to be offering properties, getting people around, getting to get offers in for our clients and moving them on with their dreams, hopes and aspirations. And finding out about buyers as well is always interesting, what they want, what their plans are, new baby often, new school or whatever it is, maybe a complete change of lifestyle. And one of the privileges of being an estate agent sometimes is finding out things that people have yet to tell their own families or their own employers even. Quite often they're saying to us, look, we're considering a move to Yorkshire because we love the Downs, and their employer don't know and their children don't know yet. And to be involved at that very personal stage of someone's life is quite a privilege and always interesting and inspiring to see what people are doing. Always feel lucky to be a part of that. So yeah, looking forward to today and always looking forward to the weekend. Hope you have a fabulous weekend and stay safe. We'll be back at the same time, same place on Monday for another Ken at 10. Until then, have a fantastic day and a fantastic weekend. Stay safe.